Namaste and welcome to GAP. Today we are going to discuss about the significance of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations and India Summit, its history, key objectives, and the outcomes of recent meetings. Also, in the end we will discuss about East Asia Summit and its key highlights. Let's see what our today's agenda is. Interesting, today we'll cover about Association of Southeast Asian Nations and India Summit, its key objectives, about the 20th Summit, why it was in news, its key highlights, about East Asia Summit, and key highlights of the 18th East Asia Summit 2023. So without further delay, as always, let's begin our exciting and informational journey. First, we will discuss about Association of Southeast Asian Nations and India Summit. The Association of Southeast Asian Nations and India Summit is an essential diplomatic event that brings together the Association of Southeast Asian Nations and India. This summit serves as a platform for fostering economic, political, and cultural cooperation between Association of Southeast Asian Nations member states and India. The relationship between Association of Southeast Asian Nations and India can be traced back to 1992 when India became a sectoral dialogue partner of Association of Southeast Asian Nations. In 1995, India was further elevated to a full dialogue partner status. Over the years, this partnership has grown from strength to strength, and the Association of Southeast Asian Nations and India Summit is a testament to the commitment of both parties to deepen their engagement. India is part of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations Plus 6 grouping, which includes China, Japan, South Korea, New Zealand, and Australia. India and Association of Southeast Asian Nations signed a free trade agreement in 2010 and have seen trade growth, except during the pandemic years of 2020 and 2021. What are the key objectives? First is economic cooperation. One of the primary objectives of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations and India Summit is to enhance economic ties between the two regions. India's Act East policy aligns with Association of Southeast Asian Nations' goal of economic integration and development. As a result, discussions at the summit often revolve around trade, investment, and economic cooperation. Second is strategic partnerships. Another critical aspect of the summit is the pursuit of strategic partnerships. India and Association of Southeast Asian Nations aim to strengthen their security cooperation to address common challenges such as terrorism, maritime security, and cybersecurity. The summit provides a platform for leaders to discuss regional security concerns and explore avenues for collaboration. And third is cultural exchange. Beyond economics and security, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations and India Summit promotes cultural exchange and people-to-people ties. Cultural events, educational exchanges, and tourism are areas of cooperation that foster mutual understanding and appreciation among the diverse cultures within the region. About the 20th Summit. The 20th Association of Southeast Asian Nations and India Summit, which recently took place in Jakarta, Indonesia, had the theme of Epicentrum of Growth. Association of Southeast Asian Nations and India's Act East policy. The Prime Minister emphasized that Association of Southeast Asian Nations is a central pillar of India's Act East policy, underlining the importance of India's relationship with Southeast Asian nations in its foreign policy approach. Support for Association of Southeast Asian Nations outlook. India expressed its support for Association of Southeast Asian Nations outlook on Association of Southeast Asian Nations, India centrality, and the Indo-Pacific. This reflects India's commitment to regional cooperation and stability. Common interest in Indo-Pacific. The Prime Minister highlighted the significance of a free and open Indo-Pacific and the importance of amplifying the voices of the Global South. This indicates India's commitment to working with Association of Southeast Asian Nations and other nations for mutual benefit and shared regional interests. Why it was in news. The Prime Minister of India attended the 20th Association of Southeast Asian Nations and India Summit and the 18th East Asia Summit in Jakarta, Indonesia. Prime Minister held extensive discussions with Association of Southeast Asian Nations partners on further strengthening of Association of Southeast Asian Nations and India comprehensive strategic partnership and charting its future course. Prime Minister reaffirmed Association of Southeast Asian Nations centrality in the Indo-Pacific and highlighted the synergies between India's Indo-Pacific Oceans Initiative and Association of Southeast Asian Nations outlook on the Indo-Pacific. He also emphasized the need to complete the review of Association of Southeast Asian Nations and India Free Trade Agreement in a time-bound manner. What are its key highlights? The PM of India presented a 12-point proposal for strengthening India and Association of Southeast Asian Nations cooperation covering connectivity, digital transformation, trade and economic engagement, addressing contemporary challenges, people-to-people contacts, and deepening strategic engagement. The 12-point proposal included the following: establishing multimodal connectivity and economic corridor that links Southeast Asia, India, West Asia and Europe. Offered to share India's digital public infrastructure stack with Association of Southeast Asian Nations partners. Announced Association of Southeast Asian Nations and India Fund for Digital Future. Announced renewal of support to Economic and Research Institute of Association of Southeast Asian Nations and East Asia. Called for collectively raising issues being faced by Global South in multilateral fora. Invited Association of Southeast Asian Nations countries to join Global Center for Traditional Medicine being established by World Health Organization in India. Called for working together on Mission Life. Offered to share India's experience in providing affordable and quality medicines to people through Jan Aushadhi Kendra. Called for collective fight against terrorism, terror financing and cyber disinformation. Invited Association of Southeast Asian Nations countries to join Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure. Called for cooperation in disaster management. Called for enhanced cooperation on maritime safety, security and domain awareness. Now, in brief, we will understand about East Asia Summit. The East Asia Summit is a prominent regional forum in Asia that brings together leaders from East Asian and Southeast Asian countries, as well as some key partners from outside the region. It was established in 2005 and has since become an important platform for discussing various political, economic, and security issues in the Asia-Pacific region. India is an active participant in the East Asia Summit, which is a significant regional forum in the Asia-Pacific region. India's involvement in the East Asia Summit reflects its commitment to regional cooperation and its desire to play a constructive role in addressing political, security, and economic challenges in East and Southeast Asia. The East Asia Summit is the only leader-led forum in the Indo-Pacific that brings together all key partners to discuss political, security, and economic issues of strategic importance. The idea of an East Asia grouping was first proposed by then Malaysian Prime Minister Mahathir Mohamad in 1991. The first summit was held in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia on 14 December 2005. What are the key highlights of the 18th East Asia Summit? Reaffirming commitment to East Asia Summit. The PM of India emphasized the significance of the East Asia Summit mechanism and reaffirmed India's support for further strengthening it. India's strong support for ASEAN centrality and called for ensuring a free, open and rules-based Indo-Pacific. Quad's vision and global challenges. Insights into PM's discussion on the Quad's vision and the cooperative approach to address global challenges like terrorism, climate change and resilient supply chains. India's initiatives in climate change. India's initiatives in climate change, including International Solar Alliance, Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure, Mission Life, and One Sun, One World, One Red, was highlighted. Conclusion. The Association of Southeast Asian Nations and India Summit is a crucial diplomatic forum that underscores the commitment of Association of Southeast Asian Nations member states and India to enhance their multifaceted partnership. With a focus on economic cooperation, strategic collaboration, and cultural exchange, this summit serves as a vital bridge between two dynamic and diverse regions. As Association of Southeast Asian Nations and India continue to strengthen their ties, the future holds promising opportunities for growth, stability, and mutual prosperity. So, this brings to the end of today's session. I hope I have been able to make you understand about the Association of Southeast Asian Nations and India Summit and East Asia Summit. If you have any questions for us, you can comment in the comment section or email us. We would be happy to help. Thank you for your time. Stay safe and stay happy.